Hello to you once again. This position was recently shown to me, and the person who did show it to me could shed no light on the origins of this problem whatsoever. So as far as I can see, it's by Anon, unless somebody can shed some light on it after watching this video. What is to be noted, of course, is that all the plays on just about on the king side. It's just the black king that's on the queen side with being on d8 at the moment, but that will change. What do you make of this position? It looks as though it will be very difficult for white to win it, doesn't it? Well, the first thing that should strike anyone is that in this position, let's just home in on it. If white could, but of course he can't within the laws of chess, move straight there, then it would be impossible for black to save this game, because all that he would need to do is to play here check. The bishop would be bound to take it, the pawn would take back, and it would be impossible to stop that pawn from queening. So the premise in this position is for white to get his king to f7. Now, does he use the direct or indirect approach? Well, let's try the direct approach. He goes here. Now, he's hitting the bishop. The problem with this is black moves here, and he takes the opposition, meaning to say that there's a square between the two kings. And now the onus is on white to make progress in this position. How does he do it? He can't. He just cannot do it. Because if he tries something like this, then the bishop can just whip the pawn off, the pawn takes back, and the king takes the pawn. It's the king against the king. If he goes this route, then the king can come in here like that, and then white has run out of pawn moves. He would have to move his king away, either to here or here, and then, hey presto, and it's heading for a draw again. So to put this back, by process of elimination there and implication, we must play the indirect route. Can you see it? Yes. It's a waiting move of king h8. Now, the question arises here, is black in Tutzwang at this point? Meaning to say, if black could forego moving, would he be safe? Would he be safe? Well, no, he wouldn't. Black forgoes moving. Now, if white comes here, you see what's happening? Black takes the opposition, and we're back where we were, where white cannot win this game. Which means that black is in Tutzwang. Or does it? No, it doesn't. Because white in that position, all that he needs to do is to go back from whence he came. And you see what's happening here? Now, should black move his bishop anywhere, or his king anywhere, and we'll come on to these variations in a moment, it's as if white has still played his waiting move, because he is in no way impaired from going to g8. In other words, if black should come here now, he's going to have to move now, because he's had his opportunity of foregoing moving. It's now his turn. White takes the opposition. That's why. Check that out for yourselves by all means, but there is no Tutzwang there. So the key move is king h8. So there are 4 variations and 3 sub-variations in this most interesting problem. Let's look at the bishop moves first. Let's try bishop h6. How does white deal with this? Just take a good look at that. Well, he does what I suggested, and of course he's heading for f7. So what does black do there? Well, of course, if he plays to either of these, he loses his bishop. If he plays anywhere down here whatsoever, can you see how he wins it? Yes, he just plays to here. And then you have a situation where he can defend against it, but you queen the pawn, he'd take back, and as can be seen, the white e-pawn cannot stop from queening. So none of that works. So we have played king h8, bishop h6, king g8. So that leaves us with the conclusion that he must play a forced move, king e8, to stop king f7. Stop white going in there and winning it. So how does white continue with this? Just take a look at that. That's after king h8, bishop h6, king g8, king to e8. Well, he plays here. Just look at that. Now what does black do there? If he moves his king out the way like this, then it's king f7, like I've been saying, and e8 cannot be stopped. If he moves his bishop anywhere down here whatsoever, just take a look at that. What happens then? Well, all that we need to do is to play here. He'd be bound to take here. You queen the pawn, game over. So bishop h6 is a no-go. So keep looking at this. This is after king h8 in that position. So let's look at variation 2, which is the bishop to here, or indeed any of these squares. We're coming to e7 in variation 3. Just take a look at that. What does white do there? Well, he plays king g8 and he's heading for f7. It's as simple as that. So what does black do? Clearly, if the bishop moves anywhere, like say to here, how do we win it? Well, what we do is we play f7. And if you notice there, although his king can come in, he's self-blocking. And we'd queen the pawn and win the game. So that just doesn't work. So that's after king h8, bishop a3, or any of those squares from d6 to a8. And we try the bishop move. By process of elimination, it must be king e8. And we play f7 check this time. We had no check the other time, but we play check. Now do you see what's happening? If he comes in here, he's self-blocked again and we queen the pawn and we win the game. On the other hand, should he play like this, well, then quite simply we can promote. He would have to take off and we would take off, and he cannot stop that e-pawn from queening. So that's the first two variations out the way. King h8, we've looked at bishop h6 and d6 to a3. What about here? Now this is extremely tricky. It's so easy to go wrong in this position. There's nothing else on the board. That's your position. How does white play it? After king h8, bishop e7. Don't forget, you can't possibly take it, because if you did, he'd take back and he'd win your e-pawn. Is this any good here? Well, no, it isn't. Why not? Because he'd come like this. And then if you came here, he'd come here. And if you look at that position, he cannot win it. He's stuck. Because if he promotes the pawn, you take it off, take back, and he'd win your e-pawn, and there would be no win. So let's go back. This is after king h8, bishop e7. How do you deal with this? Well, you play here, king g7. That's the winning move. Now, if he takes here, like that, you take back. He'd have to come here, and then you play there. And do you notice how he has to give ground, and then you win the game? So that doesn't work. So king h8, bishop e7, king g7. Taking the pawn doesn't work. So what else does he have there? Just look at that. He has this. How do we deal with that? Well, now we can play this. This is completely different. What can he do? Well, he has to go here. It's his forced move, isn't it? King d8. So now we promote. He takes, and we take. And just look at that. He cannot stop the march of the pawn. There's just nothing that he can do about that at all. So that's all the bishop moves out the way. So this is after king h8. What else does he have here? Well, he has to stop king f7. So if he moved his king anywhere else, it would be king g8 followed by king f7. It's as simple as that. So how does white deal with that? Well, he plays here and he takes the opposition, the one square between the two kings. The onus is on black now to proceed. What does he do? Well, he has three sub-variations. If you think about it, they're all with his bishop because, of course, should he move here, game over. So he has to move his bishop. We move it to h6. So we're repeating the original variations really, but we've interpolated king e8 on the way. So how do we deal with this? This has to be thought through. What do we do here? Well, we play here. Now, what happens if the bishop moves? And it would have to move down this way. So something like that. What do we do then? Well, f7, check. And he takes the e-pawn, we queen the f-pawn. So that doesn't work. So by process of elimination, after e7, he must move his king. He must move to here. Now we can't queen the e-pawn because he'd take it. So what do we do? What do we do in that position? It's simple, isn't it? King f7. See, this was the original point, and we're back with it again. He cannot stop e8 equals queen. It's as simple as that. So let's have a look at sub-variation 2. This is after king h8, king e8, king g8. We've tried that. Try any of these squares down here, but not e7 just yet. So what happens there? Okay, well, here we play here. And do you notice it's a repeat performance of last time? He has to either come in here and submit to self-blocking and lose the game, promote it to a queen, or he has to go this way and give up his bishop like that. Just a repeat performance of before, and we take, and he cannot stop that e-pawn from marching on. It's as simple as that. Wonderful. Let's look at the final variation and final sub-variation. This is after king h8, king e8, king to here. This. How do we deal with that? Don't take it because you just take back and then it will be a draw. Well, we deal with it like that. The king has to move, and then we run into exactly the same position as before. f8, bishop takes, king takes. The king would have to move there, and it's game over. That is a very interesting problem, and I thought it would be prudent to go through all of these variations rather than going through the main one and putting a long comment on the comments box, because I don't think there's any one main variation here. You have a few interesting variations and they all need to be considered separately, and I hope that I've done this problem justice and that you've enjoyed it. And goodbye for now.